Hello, everyone, and welcome to Dreamleapers with Harriette Cole. I am excited to be with you today, and boy, do I have a fantastic guest. I think you all have heard that Broadway has reopened after nearly 2 years of being shut down, just like the whole rest of the world was shut down. Broadway has reopened, and this past weekend, I had the honor of participating in something called Curtain Up that was produced by the Broadway League, who produces the Tonys. And in this 3-day event, there was a panel that I moderated with 4 of the 7 Black playwrights who are making history as having 7 plays by and about Black life opening on Broadway with the reopening of Broadway. Incredible. Guess what? I think 4 of the 7 playwrights are Black women. Yes, indeed. And I am very, very excited to have one of those sisters here with me today. She created the play Passover, and she is Antoinette Nwandu, and she's here right now.
Hello, hello,
Welcome.
hello.
Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Harriette. This is
I'm thrilled.
my favorite press of the week. Thank you, because it happened organically.
It did. I just want folks to know, not only were we on this incredible stage in Times Square, but we had time.
Yes, we did.
we had, they were so generous. There were 4
They were.
playwrights and me in the beautiful but hot sun, and we had 90 minutes to talk, which made it a juicy, rich, amazing conversation where we did not just do surface stuff. We went deep. And I fell in love with all of you, and I ran over to Antoinette, who is Tony, right? We call you Tony.
Yes.
Tony.
Person to person, Black woman to Black woman, Tony Nwandu.
And I said, Tony, I have to have you on my show. And so thank you so much. I know you're busy. Your play was the first play to open on Broadway, #1. And I was there the first night.
Yes, you were.
I was. And you know, it was interesting. I said this when we were there together on Saturday, but I want to say it again. Everybody had to be vaccinated.
Yes.
Everybody wore a mask. They didn't even have concessions open, so nobody took the mask off.
Talk about a marketing conversation. They were like, y'all don't get to sell food and drinks. That money doesn't come in here. No, masks.
It was tight. We were sitting close to each other, but we were safe. Yes. People followed directions, and that's important to know as Broadway opens up. But for you, as someone who's, developed this dream, this incredible play that you had performed in several places, and then it's coming to Broadway at such a tender time. How did you feel about opening as we are just in the slightest way opening from COVID?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for asking that question. And thank you so much for creating and cultivating the space where I really do feel safe to delve into all of it. When we had the first meeting about opening, I asked, and I will say this, and I've said it before and I'll say it again. I said I wanted to open 2 weeks after Lion King. I said, those were the early conversations. I was like, when the big tent poles, let them lead and I'll come after. And then I very quickly got a refresher course in Economics 101 and a new course in Broadway real estate, which was, you don't tell people what you want. The land, or you can, the first meeting was quite lovely. And then, you go back with your counter and they're like, oh, cute. Now we're going to tell you what it is. And what it is, this is about real estate. Yes. I have a building that I either own or manage. Either it's free or it's not. And some of those buildings, Chicago has not been free real estate for 20 years.
That's right.
So when Drew Jansen calls you and says, we have real estate,
yes,
that means something in Broadway terms. And so I quite quickly, that was swift kick in the ass #1. You don't tell them when you would like to go. They tell you when you can go. And then, I fell apart and I was like, I don't want to be first. I don't want this mantle. I'm thinking about rewriting. If it's going to Broadway at all, I want to rewrite it. I don't want to do the rewrite in rehearsal. I want time. And then you look at your life and you look at the real estate and you look at the history and they say it's the August Wilson Theater. It's historic. It's COVID. This is the smallest play So, a 3-character play is different than a 10-character play. If we're going to do something first, let's look at the numbers of your play. My play needs X amount of dollars to capitalize, which is like little. You can't start with these big jumbo things. So they teach me that it's trial by fire. And then it's literally like, okay, if this is how it comes, I'm saying, no, I'm not ready for this. I'm going through a divorce. I'm not ready for this. I don't want this.
And probably more, Tony, it's you didn't want this because clearly you were ready.
My whole life has been other people telling me I'm ready. And I guess I finally just have to say, yes, I was ready. I don't feel ready, but I guess you never feel ready. You know what I mean?
I do.
But it was one of those, I read the Shonda Rhimes book, Year of Yes, I think like a few years too early. And then you have your moment where it's like, no, just say yes. And you don't know, like I literally said yes before I knew what the rewrite was. How, things, these are acts of faith to tell the press, yes, I'm doing a rewrite when you don't have a rewrite. And then Spirit is like, hey, you do it in public.
And so before we get into the content of the play, I want to go back a little bit to read, because even as I say you're ready, you went through a lot. We just met, but I did my background, so I read, you are in the course of going through a divorce, but also during COVID, you had a miscarriage, didn't you?
I did, yes. On July 11th.
I had that experience many years ago.
So many women have.
I want to say the most devastating thing that's ever happened to me.
Yes.
And only people who've gone through it understand. Yes. And to go through that, to go through divorce, to have this incredible opportunity, I am sure the whirlwind of emotions was and is. So, I mean, it's catastrophic and euphoric all at the same time.
Yes.
So what do you do? How do you take care of yourself given all of that? And also, really, I want folks to understand, everybody has a COVID story. That you had a miscarriage during COVID, I can't even imagine, because people can't come see you in the hospital. I read that you were in the COVID ward going through this. I mean, you must have been scared out of your mind. What are your coping mechanisms to help you take care of your spirit and your being?
Can I be completely honest with you?
Yes, please.
I do not feel like I am taking care of myself. I feel like I am being taken care of by God, Spirit, the universe, Black community, ancestors. I don't, my methods and that has fallen away.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I am being taken. And that's the faith.
Yes.
That's it. You know what I mean? It's every moment. Harriette, when you and I met, and me listening to you and Lynn, I was being caretaken. Because this journey for me is to do it in public.
Yes. And for those who don't know, the Lynn
moment in public.
Yes, just for folks who are listening, the Lynn we're talking about is veteran playwright Lynn Nottage, who is
two-time Pulitzer Prize,
two-time Pulitzer Prize winner.
And every time I have a panel with Lynn, it's a masterclass from my creative soul. Lynn and I just had another one today with Douglas Lyons, the Columbia thing. And every time she speaks about how to do it, because she's had so many this is my first New York thing.
Yes.
And every time she speaks, I'm like the grad student in the corner being like.
Well, she's so generous also with her her knowledge and her stories. And that's what's really beautiful about what's happening. One of the things that happened on the stage, folks who are listening, first of all, there are 4 plays that were represented.
Yes.
Tony's play, which is Passover. Lynn Nottage's play, which is Clyde's. Douglas Lyons' play, which is Chicken and Biscuits, and Keenan. What is Keenan's last name? Keenan's play is Thoughts of a Colored Man.
Of a Colored Man. I don't want to say the wrong thing. Let's right now.
We're gonna find it. But Keenan. So there are 4 plays. Three of the playwrights are brand spanking new to Broadway.
Keenan Scott the second.
Thank you, Keenan Scott the second. All incredible. And one of the things that happened on stage that was so beautiful is the community that you felt being created in the moment.
Yes.
That, you know, while you and Lynn have known each other for some time and have had this mentor-mentee friend relationship, Douglas and Keenan had just met over social media since the advent of these plays being announced. And in this 90 minutes that we were together, everybody really bonded in a way of how can we support each other in this moment. And I think what you just shared, Tony, about yourself being cared for by both the ancestors and the community, and you know, spirit always being present, however people understand it. What I want you to know is this show, this project that I've created, Dreamleapers, is all about helping people to access and activate their dreams. And to me, the only way that can happen is that there is a spiritual component. I mean, I think that to trust that you can recognize the dream inside and allow it to be free and cultivate it requires something greater than yourself. This is my absolute belief. And often it's through a tender space that this occurs. And so that's what I'm hearing about you. And it's wonderful that you recognize that you are being carried in all these different ways, but also I'm going to say it's a combination of self-effort and grace, right? If you weren't doing the work, if you weren't pushing, trust that this would not be happening. Like you said, you have to rewrite. So I read, folks, about what Tony has been doing. Like many playwrights who, the few who are fortunate to get to Broadway,
at all.
There are often different iterations of a project, even if you're not on Broadway, wherever you are.
Wherever you are, literally. This is the process that I did in public has been my process for every production. You know what I mean? I'm not doing anything different.
Right. So tell us, with Passover, it has evolved over time. And you described in an article that I read that each iteration is probably important for someone who might even see it now because it has evolved. So first, tell us, what is Passover about? Let's start there.
Well, I'll start with the very first log line that we came up with, that Passover is a mashup between Waiting for Godot and the biblical Exodus story that tells the story of two young Black men talking trash on the block and waiting for the promised land to arrive.
And all, like, chew on that for a minute, you all. That's a lot right there. And then you do a version that is a filmed version with Spike Lee. How did that come to be?
I was caretaken by the ancestors. So the play has its world premiere at Steppenwolf 2017. It ends, the production ends. And people don't understand, for a playwright, you work so hard for this thing, and then you get a play and it runs for 3 weeks. And it's like, okay, at that point, I had been writing the play for 3 years. And it was like, and then you got your production, okay, good, and on to the next one. So I was already in, by August, I'm already back in Chicago working on my next play. My team calls me and they're like, you're not gonna believe what just happened. And I'm like, okay, tell me. And they're like, Spike Lee read the script. He has not seen the Steppenwolf production. He read the script from paper, because we're both at ICM at the same agency. They're like, he read it and he wants to film it. And I'm like, okay, well, film it how? Because it doesn't exist. Like, you know what I mean? Like, say more words. And they were like, well, he's going to call you in a couple hours, so just hang tight. So I'm in my hotel room in Chicago, about to go to rehearsal for my play Breach, which goes up next. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess Spike Lee's going to call me now. And then he does. And he tells me his idea. He's like, you know, he films play. You know, he already did, what is it? Passing Strange.
Yes.
Right, which I loved and I've seen. So he's like, I've done this before. And I literally was like, yeah, Spike, but that's on Broadway. And then I was like, but Spike, you haven't even seen the play. And he's like, I'm Spike motherfucking Lee. And I literally was like, Spike, I was like, I hear everything you're saying. Plus, at that point, 2017, I'm like, if I put something on film, nobody will ever go see the play again. So I'm like, telling him, okay. So I literally was like, thank you so much. Like, this was great. Thank you. I have a lot to think about. And then he was like, no, I'm getting on a plane. I'll be in Chicago tomorrow. We'll talk about it in person. And then I was like, I guess that's what's going to happen tomorrow. I hang up the phone. Tomorrow, we're at the Ace Hotel, Chicago, eating food. I find out that he's a Pisces, I'm a Pisces.
Me too.
You're a Pisces as well?
Yes.
Okay, so there it is. We ordered the same pasta dish, but he says, what did he say? He was like, no swine, because the pasta dish came with the crinkly pork on top, which makes it the best thing. And he was like, hold the swine. And I was like, well, don't hold the swine for mine. I eat pork. And then he told me his pitch again. And then because we're both Pisces introverts, we sat and ate in silence, where I was just like, okay, well, I don't have anything to say. And he doesn't have anything to say. And then when we were done, I mean, we had a few little, but it wasn't a big talk. It was just like, you like this food? Yeah, it's good. Yeah, the wine is okay. And then at the end, he was like, so are we doing this or not? And it had been so weird. And I told him I needed money. And then I was like, yeah, let's do it.
I love it. Wait, let me remind folks, you're listening to Dreamleapers with Harriette Cole here on WBAI in New York City. That's 99.5 FM and everywhere online at WBAI.org. Boy, oh boy, or girl, oh girl, I'm so happy. I'm so happy today. Look, I'm happy that last weekend I showed up for this incredible curtain up Broadway reopening event and met this sister right here, Antoinette Nwandu, aka Tony, who has an incredible play that's on Broadway right now called Passover. And guess what? For a short time. So you're going to go see it, and you're going to go see it now because it is that good. But we're just talking about Spike Lee, all three of us being Pisceans. I mean, this is pretty great.
Yes.
And Tony, I know Spike. So I've known him for a long time. I'm not an introvert. You don't seem like one either, but he is.
Oh,
he definitely is.
I'm going to take a big nap after this.
he will sit there and say nothing forever. But then when he starts talking, you're like, right. Whoa.
And I felt it kindred. I was like, oh, I get this energy.
That's so funny. So you made the film, and
Spike made the film. He made the Spike made the film.
Spike made the film. Yeah, let's
you know what I did? You know what I got to do during that 2.5 day shoot? I got the privilege of watching Spike make something out of literally nothing. It was a masterclass. I can tell the whole story on just those 2 days. He had 10 cameras. Steppenwolf decided, yes, we will rebuild the set, remake the whole production. He came in, descended for 48 hours. Poof.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Yes. That's amazing. And so that incarnation occurred. And what we know now, because you're on Broadway, is that a film did not mean that it would shut down the opportunity for it to be seen again. But one of the things that you talk about is there's a difference in this production. As you mentioned at the open of the show, you were rewriting as you were staging. Why did you feel the need to rewrite? What about the play pre-COVID and George Floyd didn't work after this latest moment in time?
So the only way that I can answer that question is to do something that, as a storyteller, my storyteller instinct tells me to never give the end of the story. But my caretaking instinct says it's okay to give away the ending because then you're inviting people to see how we get there, right? Okay. So the ending of both the 2017 version that world premiere in Chicago and of the 2018 version that the New York premiere at Lincoln Center and the Amazon Prime version that Uncle Spike captured, the end of each of those versions ends with the death of the main character, Moses. He gets to a triumphant place, we believe. Kitch is at a triumphant place, his best friend. And then when mystery enters, he lynches Moses. It is a horrific, and tragic ending. And it was happening during a lot of art, you know, everything from literally 12 Years a Slave to, I would say, Queen and Slim. I personally have not seen because I was working on Passover. And when I work on traumatic work, I do not take in traumatic work. I have a Disney Plus account and I know Moana and Coco better than any other movies because Moana and Coco have got, and You've Got Mail, I have to say, have gotten me through Passover. So I have not seen 12 Years a Slave to Queen and Slim. Given that, and then it's like, okay, COVID, which is a plague, which is one of the events of my play. So we're living biblically right now. We are living biblically. We're living epically right now. So there's a plague, then my miscarriage, then, oh, wow, a vaccination. Then, hey, do you want to reopen Broadway? And you say to yourself, no, I can't reopen Broadway with a lynching story after a plague and a miscarriage. And so you say, okay.
And a lynching on TV of George Floyd.
Listen, and Breonna Taylor, and the videos that we didn't see, which I can only see in my mind, which is Breonna Taylor sitting in your home.
Sleeping.
And then I'm supposed to go, you know what I mean? And so I say to the ancestors, I was so certain of that ending because I was like, oh, I'm going to talk to white people. At Steppenwolf, who's the audience? We don't have time for audience development. Okay, the ending is for y'all. I'm the wolf and, you know, I'm the fly in the honey. I knew what I was doing. But then it's like, okay, Broadway comes, I can't. So you're in a fog, you don't know what to do. Okay, rewrite it. Put yourself in the audience, rewrite it for you. Not for the Steppenwolf Trump in, you know, audience, not for the New York liberal audience. Rewrite it for the audience of you. And you know what
then makes it for everyone.
Listen, that's the lesson. When you put you center, which is literally the lesson of my entire current rebirth. Put me center. Nobody who has ever caretaken me before has taught me to put me center. They've taught me to put me safe.
True.
And put me, you know, a lot of the other things, respectable, good.
Well, and you mentioned something this weekend that I remember right now as you talk about putting me center. You also talked about the fact that there are now 7 Black plays that are opening on Broadway that look at Black life, which is really life, but one part of our cultural community. You talked about the importance of not making it us against them, that often people who are claiming storytelling about the Black community or any other subset often are anti-white, are anti-white centered. And I'd like for you to talk about your philosophy of the community of stories.
Well, my philosophy of the community of stories starts with my philosophy of the community of storytellers. And on one level, every human being is a storyteller of some kind. So let's look at the storytellers in my family. My sister married a man who is a Mexican-American immigrant. My niece is half Black and half Mexican. I have to be pro-Mexican because I am pro my niece. Bam. That's my community.
Right.
There it is. My brother is married to a white woman. I have a nephew and a niece. They are half Black and they are half white. Well, okay, I guess white people are my community too. Because I can't stand it, you know, and I'm saying this as in my thinking, of course, ooh, white people, white people, white people. Okay, but that's my community. And what stories are they telling right now? My community,
that's such a great point.
Has ears to hear it.
Really good point, Tony, because when we look politically across the recent years, we see when Dick Cheney has a daughter who's lesbian, right? Then suddenly he had to be open and welcoming.
Listen,
He had to figure it out. You know,
right.
when you're different political leaders who have been the most conservative, when family members
Mm-hmm.
show themselves for who they are, whatever that means, and then they really have no choice. But did they
Mm-hmm.
love their family?
Or they
Then they
don't.
need to, and if they do, they need to
Mm-hmm.
welcome them, which is
Mm-hmm.
essentially, what you're saying. And so it's good to give the personal perspective of how you come to this understanding. Can you give the bigger picture understanding how you talk about storytelling that is in an inclusive way?
Can I give it? How, this question is tripping me up. I'm like, how can I talk about this in a bigger way? I guess for me, it comes from the church. And like I was on this panel today with Lynn and Douglas through Columbia. And anytime I talk to another storyteller who comes from the Black church, I have to remind people that when I say church, I've only ever had white pastors. I've been a member of 3 churches. But what I did have was a focus on the stories in the Bible, the text. I've taken classes in biblical Greek. I've taken classes in Old Testament Hebrew. I understand the text. And when you can study the Bible and as an art object and as an anthology in the world and see its trickle in, like, our calendar is based on these stories. Our understanding of time, why we say it's 2021 is based on this. You know what I mean? The power of story. That book has been, I did not grow up as a reader of books. I grew up as a reader of the book.
Wow.
I have read the Bible from cover to cover 8 times in my life. I know the book. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So how do you tell an epic story that causes transformation in a person's life to change them? Okay, well, every one of my stories has to be, worthy of a biblical level epic. You know what I mean? I got to tell you a story that will make you be born again.
Hence the title, Passover.
Listen, I'm trying to take as much church as I can out of church and put it somewhere where I don't have to, I don't want, if I could give you church without all of the negative of church and without a tithe, then I will have complete, you know what I mean? We know the good parts of church.
Sure.
And I don't know the good parts of the Black church, but I want to learn. But I know how to tell you a story that might change your heart. That's what I'm trying to do.
Excellent. Hey, everybody, you are listening to Dreamleapers with Harriette Cole here on WBAI in New York City. That's 99.5 FM and everywhere online at WBAI.org. We are talking to Antoinette Nwandu, aka Tony. She is the playwright, the creator of Passover, which was the first play to open on Broadway in this new season. I mean, she said with trepidation, but guess what? She opened and it's doing really well. It's on a short run. When does it end, Tony?
We close in 3 weeks. We close October 10th. There are plenty of tickets available. Please, please, please come and bring your friends and your friends and your friends and your friends.
October 10th. That means, folks, you can't think about it for a long time or it will be gone. This is called a limited run. And you can come, and guess what? Tony is giving away tickets. Hello. She's giving tickets to the Dreamleapers family.
Yes.
In exchange for, let me just back up and say, everybody listening, because they're part of the family, they understand that WBAI is listener sponsored. We accept no ads.
Yes.
So it is you who are listening, listener sponsored radio. And so usually I'm just saying, would you please make a donation because you love WBAI? That's still why. But in this case, if you make a donation of $100, you will get 2 tickets to Passover. You can go on a date. You can bring your kid. 2 people can come to Passover on Broadway by making a $100 donation. And I'm not going to say how many, but Tony has been very generous. A lot of you can do this.
A lot of you
Just
can do
call
this.
a lot of you. She's being very generous. Why? Because she wants the community to come.
And
This is a
also, I
gift.
will say, yes, 100% I want the community to come, but also part of the precedent of what I am doing, I wrote it. I am also a producer.
All right.
So as a producer, I am saying, yes, please come, because we have to own what we make.
Excellent. And so again, for $100, you can come to Broadway, to the August Wilson Theater.
Listen, spirit is thick in that room, y'all. Don't come in. No, spirit is thick.
Oh man. And Tony is the first Black playwright to have a play in the August Wilson Theater. Even though August Wilson, one of the greatest playwrights of all time, African-American man telling the story
Is
of
that
our
true?
culture. Yes, I read it. That's what I read. So I didn't fact check it, but I read it in an article today as I was doing research about you. So what I read
The first
says that
Black playwright to have a play in that theater?
That's what I read.
You know how sometimes you don't even know what you don't know?
Hello, I read that. I said, I have
Put that on the marketing. Come on,
I have to say that out loud. And we, let's fact check it, but that's what I read. And it was in a reputable source. So 2 tickets to Passover, the fabulous date night of Broadway.
Wow.
$100 to WBAI. Call us 212-209-2950. Again, the number 212-209-2950. You can also go online at give2WBAI.org. 2 tickets. And hey, if you want to get more than 2 tickets, give another $100. This is to the family. This is to WBAI. Take your friends and your family. Take a church group. Come on, y'all.
We do have group discounts as well. We do all the normal Broadway stuff.
Everything.
We do all the things.
We need to fill the house every day, every night. There's 8 shows a week. That's what Broadway is. Fill it up. October 10th, you need to order your tickets now. Contact us, 212-209-2950. Give to WBAI.org, and you get to see Passover. So, Tony, I want to talk about what I saw, because I came the first day.
Yes.
And I'll back up and say, and my listeners know, I live in Harlem.
Mm-hmm.
During the time of COVID, a lot of things accelerated. And Harlem is so high-low, like everybody is here. Folks who've been here for generations, folks who just moved in, people of all different backgrounds. A lot of wealth, a lot of poverty, a lot of drugs, a lot of everything.
Yes.
During COVID, the extremes got more extreme. And I have witnessed more young men outside on the corner stuck.
Yes.
Also, some young and not so young women, mostly Black, but not just. On the corner, stuck. And Passover is staged on a corner. Can you tell us why you put these 2 men on this corner where seemingly they can't leave?
It's interesting. Before we did the Steppenwolf world premiere, there was a New York developmental workshop of a very, very different version of the play. And I learned so much during that developmental workshop because we built an entire, you know how when you go in the projects, that courtyard, we built that like almost realistically. And it was like the projects around these 2 young men. Played by Eden Marishow and Jamie Lincoln Smith. And the more real world we built to show, ooh, they're in prison, the less I could feel them and the play. And so I went back to Godot and I went back to the Exodus story. And I was like, okay, at a certain point in your process, you have to just reread the texts again as though you had never read them. And so in between that Cherry Lane workshop production and Steppenwolf, what I learned was, oh, you got to take all that away because no matter where they are, they're really in the wilderness. If you go through all sorts of literature, what happens? Okay, what's that? You know, the Siddhartha. We all read that in middle school,
Yes.
right? What happens? Send him out to the wilderness. Jesus in the Bible, where does the devil come to him? In the wilderness.
Mm-hmm.
Eating and Go-Go and Waiting for Godot. Oh shit, where are they? They're in the wilderness. Sorry, I didn't mean to curse. I apologize. They're in the, you know what I mean? Everything transformative happens in the wilderness. That's why I wrote down when you said a tender space. I was like, oh, a tender space. That's the wilderness.
Yes.
So then you're like, okay, what's the wilderness in Harlem? It's the block. What's the wilderness? You know, you did the pandemic in Harlem. 6 weeks ago, I have been living in Brooklyn. I was in Brooklyn for 15 years. Flatbush, right on the southeast side of Prospect Park. Yeah, heroin. I'm talking about three gun assaults in the first 6 weeks of the pandemic. The third one at our front door, across the street from the Parkside. You know what I mean? And then we're going for our walk every single day in the park, Parkside, you know, in Prospect Park. And it's like, yeah, little encampments. You know what
Everywhere.
I mean? That's the winter. People living in the winter in Prospect Park.
Let me tell you something, because I need to say it out loud. Where I live, they're in a lovely building. There is a park across the street, a tiny little park where no one would go except for certain people who go to use drugs, people who they're not homeless, but they gather in that way.
Right.
And when Cuomo shut down the parks because people were sitting too close to each other on park benches, all of those people came across the street under the scaffolding on my building because there's repairs happening, and made an encampment there.
Of course.
And whatever the drug is, Tony, that is making people insane.
I think it's heroin. It's back, because when you say that marijuana is legal, now heroin becomes a new illegal thing.
And there's another thing, K something, where they look like zombies. They look like zombies. So these people have been camped at my doorstep.
Jesus.
You know, you wake up to excrement.
Right.
You wake up to like we saw this, Tony, and I have to say it was and is heartbreaking, because you realize that there are people who are so lost.
Yes.
And you know, now they're not across the street, they're right at our doorstep.
Listen, and all of these outdoor, we're in Manhattan where they're trying to bring the seating outside. And it's like, I'm in Hudson Yards now. So when I can walk to the northern part of Chelsea, the restaurants that didn't quite make it, but they did put up their seating, those are all encampments now. You walk by some restaurant and it's like, oh, this restaurant has people sitting. This restaurant has been taken over. That outdoor part, it's been taken over by people who are just, you know, lost.
And so Passover is reflecting part of that experience.
Yes.
That these two people who are lost. Now, I will say it's more hopeful than some of the things that we just described, because it's a play and you are showing, and actually, I don't know, because I'm not standing next to those people. So let me not say what their hopes are. But in your play, you explore the hopes, you explore the visions that they have of what if that they still have as young Black men stuck. And so I'm curious for you, what do you believe the hopes are for so many young brothers right now? We are in the aftermath of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and a pantheon of Black men who have been killed unnecessarily. What do you see the hopes for young Black men who know that this has been the plight of so many Black men since the beginning of this country?
I think before I answer that question, what I owe the audience is the how do you know, right? How do you know?
Fair question.
And I would say the how do I know is from 2008, when I graduated with my MFA, until 2016, while I was going through that Cherry Lane production of Passover, I was a teacher first, an adjunct, then a non-tenure full-time at Borough of Manhattan Community College. I taught public speaking to classrooms of like, they were supposed to be capped at 32, then they would push you to 37. You know, I was a beast of burden. And when you're teaching young Black and brown people from the Bronx, from Harlem, from Flatbush, from East New York, from Staten Island, not to mention also recent immigrants and the odd occasional NYU upper class person whose parents got divorced so they can't go to NYU anymore, then you hear a lot of hopes and dreams. You literally see America.
Wow.
I have seen every hope and every dream from every person. And my job and my purpose was to give them the voice and the words to tell me their specific hopes and dreams. That was literally Beautiful. Like speech number 4. You know what I mean? I gave my students 5 speeches. The first one was introduce yourself. The second one was teach us how to do something. The third one, I think, was, interview each other. The fourth one is tell us your hopes and dreams. And the fifth one is a gratitude speech to a person in the world. I got
so you heard it firsthand.
I got almost 40 students, each class. When I'm an adjunct, I'm teaching 3 classes. When I was full-time non-tenure, I'm teaching 6 classes in the fall, 5 classes in the spring. When I say I was broken, but when I also say the number of students who were like, I've been at BMCC for 6 years, and this is the only class I've never passed. The graduation rate at BMCC when I was there was under 30%.
Oh my God.
That school is the feeder school because you get those kids to fill out that Pell Grant, and then the city gets the money. The architecture of BMCC, the architect also built prisons. And you try to go there and you teach there and you teach these children, you have a voice. And that's Moses and Kitch. Those are my students.
Thank you for sharing that. That really
That's where I get it from. What are their hopes and their dreams? Just the same as everybody else's. Everything. The whole world. They deserve everything, but they just don't have the words to say it.
Yeah, I shared with you, and I'll share again. I asked a young man some years ago, 20-something young man in my neighborhood, and it just occurred to me to talk to him. And you have to be careful who you're talking to on the street. But my spirit told me to talk to him, and I asked him, what are your dreams? And he looked at me so blankly, Tony, like, what? What did you say, miss?
Right.
And I said, what do you dream about? And he looked at me blankly again.
Yes.
And he said, I don't dream. And I challenged him, and I said, we all dream. I don't accept that we don't dream. I think you may not notice what's stirring within you, but I do not accept that you don't dream. And the blank look never went away. And I do think one thing that happens in Passover is the hopefulness throughout the play is that the dreams are still there.
Yes.
The dreams are present. Let me remind folks, you're listening to Dreamleapers with Harriette Cole here on WBAI in New York City. That's 99.5 FM and everywhere online at WBAI.org. We're sitting at the feet of Broadway. Talking to Antoinette
for now.
Nwandu. Woo-hoo. She has the play that opened. Look, this is historic. Forever. This is historic. Forever. When we look back on the reopening of Broadway after COVID, what play opened it? Passover.
And you know what? We have to thank you so much for saying this, because as we know, the legacy can be rewritten by the people who have the power. So I have to say it as many times as possible because it has already been rewritten in the archive. You know what I mean? Like we have to
claim it. I claim it. Yes, and
Listen,
it runs till October 10th, y'all.
October 10th is only
Oh,
3 weeks away.
it's
Come on
3
now.
weeks away. Tony is offering tickets to WBAI, to Dreamleapers, to
Yes.
you. We, of course, need your support in order to keep programs like this alive. We're 61 years old. WBAI, we survived COVID with
Wow.
progressive radio every day, 24/7. I've
That's
been doing this show for a little more than 3 years, bringing you the most amazing people that I meet. You don't get to just meet Tony now. You can come see her play date night for a contribution of
yeah.
$100 to WBAI, to Dreamleapers. You can have 2 tickets, not one, 2 tickets to see Passover. Tony has generously offered a bunch of tickets to us. So call us 212-209-2950. Call now. Well, call right after the show ends so you don't, so you can listen to the rest of our interview. 212-209-2950, or go online and give to WBAI.org. A $100 contribution gets you 2 tickets to Broadway. That's
Yeah.
date night, the best date night ever. You wear a mask, it's safe. I'm going back. It's safe. So
Yeah.
safely put on some fancy clothes and go to the play and have yourself a good time. So Tony,
You have to say one thing. Yes, so
please.
yes, a mask, and also vaccinated and proof of vaccination.
Oh, thank you very much. Yes, you have to
Fully
bring those things.
vaccinated, proof of vaccination. And I will just say, I myself had anxiety at the beginning about sitting next to people.
Mm-hmm.
The mind will have the anxiety, but when you sit down with your mask and you've shown the vaccination, the body remembers how to do the ritual. I have not spoken to anyone afterward who was like, I was too nervous to sit and watch the play. That I have not heard that.
I agree. I
have not heard that.
The play draws you in. Look, plays don't make it to Broadway just cause. And I think it's worth it to bring this up now too, because some people, some naysayers, oh, there's 7 Black plays because folks had to throw money at Black stuff.
Didn't nobody throw money at us?
Okay, exactly. But
Listen.
there has been an awakening that has occurred. We hope it will remain an awakening where the stories of people from many communities, in particular the Black community, need to be told. That the opportunity to share our stories and ourselves in a more equitable way is being recognized. There's nothing wrong with that. That's a good thing.
No,
That's a great thing. And as you pointed out, we also need to have more Asian American stories, Latinx stories, LGBTQIA plus stories. The stories. We need all of our stories because storytelling helps to transport us and to open our hearts.
Yes, 100%. I mean, again, I've taught drama. I'm a playwright, so I read plays. I want to have a Broadway that was like the Broadway of the 50s and 60s. Waiting for Godot was a play on Broadway. All My Sons, To Kill a Mockingbird, what's the one I'm thinking of? Death of a Salesman. If you've ever read a play in theater class, look up when it was on Broadway. It wasn't, I love musicals. And we, 100% need our musicals. We need to feel, we need to go to the place of song. But I would also love to see new plays of ideas, plays that can help us chart this new era coming back to Broadway. That's what I'm excited about. I'm excited about these stories.
And given that your play ends October 10th, so remember, get your tickets now. Just saying, 212-209-2950. I got to throw it in there again, Tony. But given that the play ends soon and you're always working on multiple things, what is next?
Before I say what is next, let me just say one other thing. Let me say one other thing about this. Yes, 100%. I have felt, spoken, had to pray away the cynicism of, oh, of course they give it to us when it's broken. Oh, of course, you know what I mean? And yes, some of that is there. But also, we have the light and we are the light. So I don't care why
Indeed.
they gave it to us. Why did my ancestors let me say yes? Because my ancestors are not putting me in this position so that I can be taken advantage of. And I will say that today in our earlier thing, Douglas Lyons said that. He said that in the chicken and biscuits room, they keep praying about being covered. They're covered. And when he said that, I was like, oh, it doesn't matter what this one and this one and this one and this one thinks they're using us for. What's the real narrative? 7 Black plays to speak to the New York theater community, the tri-state theater community, the Broadway community. Why did our ancestors gather us together like Avengers? Because we are the light. We have the light.
And Tony, by the way, because I've gone to so many plays in the past few years, I've seen the audience is so far beyond New York. People fly in for the day, for the night. People come from Ohio and Savannah and London.
Nigeria,
I mean,
London.
Everywhere they come. They come.
And it's a different marketing strategy.
Have this experience. Yes.
It's a same day. You know what I mean? Our same day ticket sales for Broadway are off the roof.
Wonderful.
TKTS, come in, see the show.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Absolutely. And so what's next for you?
All I will
that you
say
can talk about.
All I will say is if you are someone who prays or burns sage or anything, I am in contract for 2 life-changing things. And I need them both to hit. That's what I'll say. So beautiful. Pray for me, please pray for me. Because in contract is the best it's the wilderness of the process. Let's see what happens on the other side.
I hear you. And for your characters who you've described for this Broadway iteration of Passover, they are able to transcend in a beautiful way. What do you see for Black men on the streets of Harlem and Brooklyn and Soweto and wherever they are who are still stuck on the corner? What do you see for them?
My vision is a new world. The last image, before we get to the ending gesture with Kitsch, the last image of Moses we see is as the new man. He is the new Adam. He picks an apple. He is, I'm going to give it away, buck naked. No review has talked about the nakedness. No review has mentioned.
And he is buck naked.
Buck naked. And we had a huge dramaturgical discussion about the microphones. No one has talked about that as a gesture. When each of these men take off those microphones, they are not actors anymore. They are men in nakedness going into the new world. And guess what? Who's not in the new world? The devil. I keep the devil out. When he comes with those 3 gold chains, he is not on the stage. He does not get to be in our new Afrofuturist world where the sky is pink or purple and the sun is pink. I want you to see that vision. You know how many times we've seen white men in the Garden of Eden naked and having fun before well, let's see a Black man naked and eating an apple in the Garden of I want you to see that vision so we can start the whole story again with us.
What's so interesting hearing you talk about this, Tony, is you talk about the Bible and your immersion in religion in a very refreshing way. I don't hear Bible thumping. When I went to Howard University and I took one class about the Bible, it was called The Bible as Literature. Yes. And as you talk about it, I'm remembering that class because when you look at it as literature, there are all kinds of things that you can see disconnected from whether you're following the word or not. Just what are the stories? Yeah. So what in these few seconds we have left, what wisdom can you offer to folks who may be looking at the Bible or could look at the Bible through refreshed vision?
Well, the wisdom I would offer you is the wisdom that has been guiding my morning pages. The wisdom literature. Okay, the Bible is an anthology. In the Old Testament, there's a book of wisdom called the Proverbs. In the book of wisdom, I believe it's here. It might be in the New Testament. I might be talking wrong. But there is a verse that says, without a vision, the people perish.
Yes.
If you don't see what's coming next while what is being destroyed, you need to have a vision of the next, because what is will not always be. So I'm trying to give you a vision of what's next. What's next? And
amen, sister.
And like Kitsch, are you coming or not? Huh, that's it.
All right. All right. Antoinette Nwandu, playwright of the Broadway debut of Passover. Everybody, you can get tickets, 2 tickets, by making a contribution of $100 to WBAI. Call us right now, 212-209-2950. Thank you, sister. So wonderful to talk to you, and many blessings on this run and everything that's coming.
Thank you so much, Harriette, for having me. And again, this is a safe space because it's yours. You cultivate a space for me to be able to speak. Thank you. Everybody, October 10th. So get your
the last day. That's the last day.
You got to send Dreamleapers the $100 before Friday. You guys know how plans work. You got to make those plans by Friday. If you can see it by October 10th. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. What a wonderful conversation. And I want to remind you that on Saturday, October 16th, I'm hosting the first ever Dreamleapers virtual retreat, What's Next? I'm going to have about a dozen speakers who will be guiding us on the best way to make the pivot in our lives. What do you want to do next? Are you clear? Do you know what it is? Do you know how to get to the next place? From meditation to unlock that dream, to marketing, financing, how to pivot, all kinds of great speakers. Go to my website, harrietcole.com, to sign up. Oh, and by the way, it's free. Thanks to Toyota and Google, you get to come to this 3-hour event, 1 to 4 p.m. on Saturday, October 16th, for free. Until next time, have a great day and make it count.